السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته أعزائي الطلبة. اليوم نستكمل سويا إن شاء الله شرح ما يتعلق باختزال الجمل الظرفية. Dear students, welcome back. Today I'm going to elaborate more and more on the reduction of adverbial phrases and the different processes that they have. In English grammar, a reduced adverbial clause is an adverbial clause that has been shortened to a phrase, usually by omitting its subject and the form of be. In conventional usage, an adverbial clause can be reduced to a phrase only when the subject of the adverbial clause is the same as the subject of the independent clause. Of course, there are different exceptions. يعني أود أن أنوه إلى موضوع مهم جدا أنه لا يمكن اختزال الجملة الظرفية إذا كان الفاعلين مختلفين، يعني كان هناك اختلاف في الأشخاص. مثلا Here is a good example. After Ahmed had lunch, he met with his manager. لا يمكن أن أقول after having lunch or after lunch Ahmed met with his manager. Why this is incorrect? Because we don't know the one who had lunch. Is it Ahmed or the manager? I mean Ahmed's manager. That's why when we have two different subjects or two different people involved in the complex sentence, we can't reduce the dependent clause. Okay, so we have to use a full clause so the sentence retains its full meaning. So, but if we have the same subject in both clauses, then it is easy to reduce it. I would say, after Ahmed had lunch, he went out. So it can be reduced into ing form. After having lunch, Ahmed went out. After lunch, Ahmed went out. As you see, the clause is turned into a phrase. Here we have some examples, and it's important that you did use the rules. You grammaticalize the grammar of these sentences. After they sang two songs, the performers did a dance. So it becomes after singing two songs. So after singing, we have ing form here, and that is a phrase. The other example, before he answered the phone, he grabbed a pencil and a notepad. So before answering the phone. Why this is right? Because we have one subject, one person. That is so significant, giving reasons with because. When a clause introduced by because is reduced, because is omitted and the verb changes form. Because she had always been interested in sports. Linda, that is the independent clause. Linda became an avid supporter of the team. That is a clause. Having always been interested in sports. So having always been interested in sports, Linda became an avid supporter of the team. Another example, because Ahmed has done his job now, he decided to leave. Having done his job, Ahmed decided to leave, or Ahmed wants to leave. So having done, having completed, having noticed. I would say, as Sarah has finished her study at university, she will fly to London. Having completed her study at university, Sarah is going to fly to London. So having plus the past participle. As you see, we have deleted the subordinator or the time connector or the connector of reason and so on. Clauses of concession with although, despite, in spite of, though, and while. So it is possible to reduce their clauses. These are called, once again, connectors, and it is easy to reduce their clauses. Here is a good example. Although Ahmed is clever, he still can't pass the exam. So we can delete the subject and the verb. And the sentence becomes, although clever, Ahmed can't pass the exam. Let's read the examples here. Although he was hurt, Jack managed to smile. That is a clause. Although hurt, as I said, although clever, although tall, although hard, Jack managed to smile. So what a process we have here, that is the omission, the deletion of the subject, and the deletion of the subject requires the deletion of the verb. Another example. In spite of the fact that she works long hours, Joan spends a lot of time with her family, Joanne. In spite of working long hours. So in spite of working long, in spite of coming early, in spite of doing my job, and so on. So in spite of the fact that she works, so we deleted the fact that she works, and we turn the verb work into gerund, and it becomes working. The ing form is used for the active voice, and the ed for the passive for the past participle. Okay, so when we have a passive voice, I would say that three people who were killed in the accident, it becomes the three people killed in the accident. Okay, this is an adjectival clause, but we are working on adverbial clause. I would say, after the house was redecorated, comma, it looks nicer. After redecorated, after reconstructed, after cleaned, and so on. So as you see, this is a passive construction or passive voice, and we have to delete the subject and the auxiliary. Another example. If that car is repainted, it will cost more and more. So we say, if repainted, the car will cost more and more, and so on. So this is passive construction. Let's read the example here. While I was away in college, I stayed with my roommate's family during one spring break. This is a clause. While away in college, so while away in college, I stayed with my roommates, etc. When she is working at home, Carla takes her youngest child to school in the morning. So when working at home, when you have lunch, when having lunch. When getting a new information, when getting a new information means when you get a new information, and so on. The last two sentences. Although Mars Bloch was impressed by the bravery of his fellow soldiers, he had harsh words for the army leadership. So it becomes although impressed. Although impressed, what happens here is that we deleted the subject and the auxiliary verb, because this is passive construction or passive voice. Although impressed by the bravery of his fellow soldiers, Bloch had harsh words for the army leadership. Okay. Types of phrases. A full adverbial clause is reduced to non-finite clause by the deletion of the subject, and whatever form of be it contains. So as I said, okay, we have to delete the subject and then the auxiliary verb and sometimes the main verb. This means that reduced adverbial clauses consist of a subordinated conjunction followed by a phrase which can be one of a number of different types as shown by 43. Okay, here we have an example. I noticed, okay, the professor looked at me smiling broadly. The professor looked at me smiling broadly. Or while walking to class that night, I noticed this poster. Or after releasing her first CD, she made a hit movie. The professor looked at me while he was smiling broadly. So he was smiling broadly when he looked at me. While walking to class that night, I noticed it becomes while I was walking to class. After releasing her first CD, after she released. or after she had released her face CD, with full or reduced adverbal clauses, then the dependent clause retains its structure and meaning if the subordinate construction is completely omitted. In academic text, reduced adverb clauses integrate information compactly while retaining the meaning and function of the full adverb clause. In general, they mark formal and written registers and are seldom employed in speech. So it is much more advisable to avoid using reduced clauses in speech or in spoken English, because this may cause problem in understanding. This is very, very important. In reduced adverbial clauses, the subject is not present in the subordinate structure or subordinate clause and is assumed to be the same as that in the independent or main clause. Here are more examples illustrating the reduction of adverbial clauses in the case of the passive voice. If the apartment is redecorated, it will look nicer. We can use when, if, after, before, and once. So the answer is if redecorated. If you say if redecorated, what is redecorated? We don't know. So this seems to be ambiguous. So the subordinate clause gets its meaning in the full clause or in the independent clause. The apartment will look nicer. But is it right to say that the apartment will look nicer if redecorated? No. So we have to begin our complex sentence with the reduced adverbial clause. So once again, if redecorated, this can be called subjectless clause. Why is it subjectless clause? Because the subject is deleted. Here is another example. Once the park is completed, يعني عندما يتم الفراغ أو الانتهاء من البارك المنتزه, it will be open for the public. سوف يتم افتتاحه لعامة الناس. So once completed. So we have once and then we have the past participle completed, because this is passive construction. Once completed, the park will be open for the public. As you see, once the park in the first sentence is completed, so the word the park, which is the noun phrase, is moved to the independent clause in order to retain its full meaning, so it doesn't cause any ambiguity or complexity. 3. If we after once the men are punished, they will behave well. So if when after once punished, the men will behave well. So as you see, these connectors, if, when, after, once, they have the same structure. So, their structure can be reduced. Example number 4. Although oil is cleaner than coal, it still pollutes when it is produced and when it is used. Okay? So I'm going to read sentence number 4 again. Although oil is cleaner than coal, it still pollutes when it is produced and when it is used. So the sentence becomes, although cleaner than coal. So what happens here is that we have deleted the subject, oil, and then the main verb is. And we only use the adjective. So although cleaner than coal, oil still pollutes when it is produced and when it is used. Example number 5. Once the message is sent, it can be deleted. So here we have reduced adverbial clause. And we call this subjectless. Once sent. This is subjectless clause because we don't have the subject. And the auxiliary verb is deleted. Once sent, the message can't be deleted. Sorry, can't be restored. Once sent, the message can't be deleted or can't be restored or retained. 6. After or because or as Hala was tortured and humiliated, she revealed the secret information. So look at this example. We have deleted, or we can delete, we can drop, we can omit the connector and the subject and the auxiliary verb. So the sentence becomes tortured and humiliated Hala revealed the secret information. Just I want to finish with this for the sake of time. We have just to understand that when we have a complex sentence, the subordinated clause doesn't have the importance as the main clause. That's why I have to raise my voice when I read the independent clause. So once again, tortured and humiliated. Hala revealed the secret information. Okay, thank you so much, dear students, for joining me. Hopefully that you will have your questions if some things is still not clear for you. Okay, thank you so much.